To make homemade breadcrumbs, I will do this step for you. You need to add some kind of day-old bread. I'm using hamburger buns here, and add it to a food processor. Blend it up until all the bread is broken up and you have pretty fine breadcrumbs. And this should look just like this. It's going to coat the chicken nuggets really nicely. To make our wet mixture, aka our marinade, we're going to add some buttermilk, 1/3 of a cup. Pour it into the mixing bowl, making sure to get all of it out of there. We're going to add our dry spices next so that we don't dirty the measuring spoons. We're going to do 1/4 of a teaspoon of adobo. Make sure and level it off. Add it right into the buttermilk. Then we're going to do our Tonys. We're going to do 1/2 of a teaspoon of this, and you don't need a leveler for this because as you can see here, it is built in to the container. So you scoop it in and using that little bar in the middle, level it off and add it to the buttermilk as well. Next, we're going to add a tablespoon of mayonnaise. So scoop it in using your offset spatula. Make sure it's packed in there and then scrape it out. The last ingredient is going to be Dijon mustard. We need 1 teaspoon. Level it off and scoop it in there. Using a rubber scraper, mix the wet ingredients all together really well. Try to get most of the lumps out. If there's a little bit of lumps in there, that's fine. No big deal. The next step is the chicken. We're going to weigh out 1 pound. This will be enough for 4 people in a group or just 4 ounces per person. 1 pound is 16 ounces. Next, you need to feel the chicken for any bones or hard parts. I did find a good sized bone in this piece of chicken. This is usually where it would be. Feel it really well. So I'm taking a paring knife that's sharp and I'm doing my best to cut all the way around that bone so I can completely cut it off. Also, there's a kind of a large chunk of fat. Taking the paring knife, just cutting it off cleanly. At this back part, sometimes there's like a little bit of cartilage. You don't want that. Next, take your chicken and cut it into long strips. From here, you're going to turn them sideways and cut them into bite-sized pieces. Remember, we're looking for around Chick-fil-A size. Once it gets to the bigger part of the chicken here, these pieces need to be cut in half. They are really large and you don't want chicken bites that big. Again, the point here is to try to make it all the same size. So as you can see here, they're roughly equal pieces. Once you have all of your chicken cut up, it should look about like this. Kind of compare them, make sure you don't have any like extra large pieces. We did count, it made about 40 pieces, so about 10 per person on average. You're going to go ahead and add all of the chicken into your buttermilk mixture and give it a really good stir using that rubber scraper. Remember, you want to coat every single piece, so go over it and over it until you see no more pieces of chicken that are not coated. Next is the dry breadcrumb mixture. You want 1 cup of the homemade breadcrumbs. This is a 1/2 cup measuring cup, so I did it twice. Next is the Italian dry breadcrumbs. You need 1/2 of a cup of this. Then you want to do your grated Parmesan cheese. We're using 2 tablespoons here. So make sure to level it. And then the last ingredient is your seasoned salt. I'm using Slap Ya Mama for this step. I use Tony's for the buttermilk, and I'm using Slap Ya Mama for the dry mixture. Honestly, this was really good. I highly recommend it. Taking a fork, mix it around really, really well until all the ingredients are nice and mixed up. Leave the fork in there. You need it later. Using your tongs, take a piece of the chicken, letting the buttermilk drip off and add it to the dry breadcrumbs. Using that fork from earlier, you're going to mix it around really well, sometimes even pressing it in to make sure it's completely coated. Lift it up, let any extra breadcrumbs fall off, and then add it to a clean plate. Now you're going to redo this step with every piece of chicken. Here you can see me doing it with 3 pieces at a time. If you do it 1 piece at a time, it's going to take forever. So go ahead and do a few pieces at a time, making sure, again, press in those breadcrumbs, taking the tongs, kind of shaking off any excess breadcrumbs back into the bowl, and then adding it to your clean plate. Preheat the air fryer to 400 degrees for 5 minutes and turn it on while you're dredging your chicken. When the timer goes off, pull out the basket and with your nonstick spray the inside of the basket really well and immediately go ahead and add in your chicken tenders. or chicken nuggets, making sure to leave plenty of space in between. You do not want to overcrowd them. Once you add them in, you need to spray them with the nonstick spray again on the outside so that they have plenty of coating to get a little bit crispy. Set the air fryer at 400 degrees for 5 minutes. When the timer goes off, pull the basket out onto a pot holder. You do not want to put it directly on the counter because it could burn it. Using clean tongs, take your chicken nugget out. Just take one, choose a large one. Using your meat thermometer, stick it into the center part. And remember, it needs to be at least 165 degrees. Here, I pulled it out at about 167. It was perfect. Repeat this until all of your chicken nuggets are cooked. When you're done, you need to wash your basket. You do this by pushing back that plastic handle, pressing down the button, and lifting up. You can use a paper towel to wipe out the inside. Serve with your favorite dipping sauce and enjoy.